but I want to hear the funniest stories about your interventions, the ones you've done. No names, but I need to hear it.
Well, I'd have to say memorable much more than funny.
Okay.
I had some funny things happen, but one of them was on the show Intervention that I had a privilege of being on. And he was a lightweight champion. And he was at this point living in New Canaan, Connecticut at the 7-Eleven. Actually, I think it was the Circle K. And the mailman is the one who asked the show if they would intervene.
Wow.
Which never we allowed before. It had to be immediate family. We actually brought him to where his ex-wife and twin boys lived, who he hadn't seen since they were 11 days old. And he'd had a stroke, of course, not getting any medical care. Because we didn't think it was fair to not kind of preserve the best of him. Because he lived on the streets, he basically had no clothes and no shower, no hygiene. So we actually, which was very unusual for us, kind of let him get acclimated in a hotel and bought him some clothes because the show never meant to embarrass anybody.
No.
And
no, it's not Celebrity Rehab.
Oh.
Okay. I know. Don't even get me going.
Thank you, God. Anyway,
don't even get me going.
Yeah, don't get me going. So really what happened was one of the...
Dude, come on the show and explain yourself. I'm dying to hear it.
One of the field producers kind of acclimated him and made sure because he wasn't physically very stable. And so we got him a hotel room and he got to pick out the cutest velour jumpsuit. I said, are we really going to let him? It was kind of a moss green color. But anyway, he walked in to we'd done a pre-intervention. We had his sister, the twin boys. One of them had just graduated from Howard and the other one Grambling.
Wait. He had two twin boys?
Yes. And he hadn't seen them since they were 11.
God, hold on for a sec.
11 days old. He hadn't seen them.
Okay, go on.
They were so beautiful. One of them was 90% deaf.
Mm-hmm.
And but he had graduated at the top of Howard University. And his sons didn't know his name. They called him Champ. So we got the boys in. One of them was getting married in 3 months, and they were 22 years old, and they wanted some kind of lineage. They wanted to know, the mother always never badmouthed him, even though he had left her. And then 2 days before the shoot, we found another son that lived a quarter of a mile away from the other boys, and they didn't know that they existed. And I don't remember, but I don't think Champ knew that this other boy existed. So we brought him, and the boys bonded. It was spectacular. So when he walked in and saw these people, he didn't know who they were. It still breaks my heart. And he introduced himself and shook hands. We'd gotten him a cane because he was so unstable. He wouldn't use a walker. And he introduced himself to the boys, and they got up and just melted. And I can't say that he was certainly an alcoholic, and he certainly was not cognitively all there anymore, but I don't know whether it was alcohol or the stroke. So he sat down and wanted to tell all of us who he was, which we, of course, never happened in a regular intervention. And there was a woman sitting in a chair kind of to the left, and he got up and and said, "Excuse me, I'm so sorry I was rude. I want to introduce myself." And she jumped up bawling and she said, "I'm your sister, Evelyn." I mean, it was just like,
What's going on with him today?
he died.
How
But
did it go after that?
he went to a treatment center in Louisiana that had professional athletes. We always joked because when you drove in, it looked like a moat, and we'd always say, "Can't leave, there's alligators." And he believed us, and so I felt so badly. He was there 8.5 months, and I think it was not only sheltering him, but it was a safer environment. He did go to his son's wedding, and he had, Richard, he had this cry, this caterwauling cry that was so guttural that it was like a primal scream of what he, for an instant, even in his cognitive delay, realized what he'd done to his family.
Yeah.
To be Champ. And so we allowed him, I didn't take him to treatment that day. We allowed him to spend time with his kids.
Good.
And we allowed him to spend time with his sister.
Good. And
then a nephew of his from another sister, he had a large family, and I think they were from Seattle. They came in. So it was like 2 days of family reunion, because he was not used to sleeping in hotels and having soap. But I have to tell you, 90% of everybody that walked into this Circle K in New Canaan, Connecticut, went over and talked to him. And
he was that special.
Gave him money and called him Champ. And he'd lost his belt and he had no idea where. And the show was able to get it replaced. The show was more gentle and kind than probably with anybody else we ever did. And
well, he needed it more.
Well, he just couldn't believe what had happened to him. Because he had been very ruthless, had no money, was running off with women in pink Cadillacs, and he was small in stature. I'd say he was maybe 5'8", and but his dad, when he was 6 weeks old, his dad started calling him Champ. So it was one of those situations where he had no choice. He was going to be this. And he started training at 6.5 years old to be a boxer. So talk about brain injury. And the punishment was extreme if he didn't win. And I mean, we found all of this out from his sister. He had no recollection of it, and there wasn't any reason to go back and dig it up. So he lived and then after he got out of treatment, he went to live with his sister.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And he kind of didn't remember ever drinking.
Good.
But he knew he'd been a bad person and a bad dad, and he tried to make it up to his kids. I'm not sure what the extension of the relationship was with the children, with the boys, but I do believe they stayed in touch with him, of course. And
how long did he live after that? Do you know?
I'd say maybe 6 years.
So he had 6 good years.
Yes.
We're out of time. Please subscribe on YouTube, click the thumbs up, and leave a comment. Please subscribe on Apple Podcast and Spotify and leave a rating and a review. And share the We're Out of Time podcast with others you know who will get value out of it. See you next Tuesday.